went back in time to kill the evil from the future. King David said, "Now then, Corin Locke." At the kingdom conference room, King David, in a raging aura, said, "The eldest daughter, Estelle Hadasha El Ras, and the second daughter, Miriam Elizabeth El Ras. Take them both as your wives and become the supreme ruler of all." Garand Arden slammed the table and it cracked as he said, "The throne? Is such worldly honor really that great? For martial artists like us, it is enough to advance to a higher realm. What do you say, Corin Locke? Take my granddaughters and leave behind an even stronger bloodline." Mardunalef said, Power? Might? Those are all things that can be bought with money." As Garand Arden looked at Mardunalef, Mardunalef continued to say, "Don't you believe me? If you just listen to Mariette, you'll find potatoes even in your sleep." As King David, Garand Arden, and Mardunalef looked at Corin Locke and said, "Now, choose. Will it be power, might, or wealth?" Corin Locke said, "Sigh. King David, please cancel the proposal for the royal marriage and stop this conflict." King David said, "To think you'd refuse the power of the royal family." Corin Locke said, "The Dunalefs owe me a debt they can never repay, do they not? I saved the lives of your daughters after all." Mardunalef said, "I admit it, the Dunalefs owe you their lives." Corin Locke said, "Repay that debt right now. Immediately lift the economic sanctions against the royal family and the Ardens and restore everything to its original state. I have no intention of entering into a marriage with your daughters right now." Garand Arden said, "You truly are a martial artist." "Fine, my granddaughters in Arden." Corin Locke said, "I'm not interested." As Garand Arden was shocked and confused, Corin Locke said, "I have little interest in money or power. The same goes for martial arts." King David said, "Do not lie in my presence. There is no one in this world who is not interested in those things. The world will soon fall into crisis." As King David, Garand Arden, and Mardunalef were shocked, Corin Locke said, "Many people will die, and I am no exception." Corin Locke said to himself, "The final confrontation draws near. I don't know what the outcome will be between me and Balthazar, but in my current state, I'd be lucky to even take him down with me. I cannot afford to hesitate or let fear paralyze me. If that happens, there will be people left behind to grieve. Even if I bond with someone, that fact doesn't change. Parting with a loved one, having such a painful memory, it was enough that I was the only one who had to endure it 3 years ago. That is why I cannot recklessly enter a relationship." As Corin Locke stood up and said, "I'm asking you, Mariette, Alicia, Lunia, Miriam, Estelle, they are all wonderful women who deserve to be loved. But if the worst should happen, I refuse to leave them behind with a broken heart. Gentlemen, now is not the time for this. Instead of being divided, we must join forces and prepare. Before anything else, we must first save the world." Corin Locke said to himself. The persuasion continued. Things that would happen, things to prepare for, things to ask for. Using the results I had shown so far, I persuaded the power players of the kingdom. And just like that, a month had passed. December 25th, at the Kingdom Hotel, Corin Locke said, "I'd rather just use my body. The daily mental fatigue is no joke. Since Mariette and Huaren will be returning tomorrow, let's just sleep soundly today." As he opened the door, he was shocked as he smelled something. As Corin Locke walked inside, suddenly Corin Locke was pushed onto the bed. As Miriam Elizabeth El Rath pinned him down and said, "You're here! It's been a while, sir." Corin Locke said, "It's been a while, princess. You should know by now. Drugs don't have an effect on me." Miriam Elizabeth El Rath said, "I know, but I just needed a bit of medicine and a change of atmosphere. Do you know what day it is today?" Corin Locke said to himself, "December 25th. There's no way I could forget. In the past, a man said, 'Congratulations, sir.' No, should I call you Count Corin now?" Corin Locke said to himself, "For the merit of defeating Professor Fermac Daman in a hard breast, I was invited to the banquet. However, no one is enjoying this banquet. Crenel, Dron, and Druid Ewell died. And Master died. The people I once dismissed as mere NPCs had taken up a larger place in my heart than I could have imagined. Back then, I only realized after I had lost them." Miriam Elizabeth El Rath said, "What is the hero of the nation doing all alone in a place like this?" As Corin Locke looked behind, he said, "Princess Elizabeth." Miriam Elizabeth El Rath said, "Just Miriam is fine. We're no strangers. I'm tired, so could you escort me to the lounge? It's a bit secluded, so I need a knight's escort." Since you're here, have a cup of tea. I'll brew it myself. Corin Locke said, so suddenly? As they were at Miriam's room, Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, Judging by your expression, you're not interested in the banquet either, sir. Don't you need an excuse to kill some time before leaving? Corin Locke took a sip of her tea and said, Well. Suddenly he dropped the cup in shock as he felt something off. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, So, play with me. Corin Locke said, Pardon? Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath came closer and said, My knight. Conquer me, take everything of mine. Corin Locke said to himself, My mind is getting hazy. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, Whisper your love to me, Corin Locke said to himself. That was the day before my 3rd year of drifting in this other world began, and the day I conceived a child with Miriam. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, December 25th. You remember, right? You've seen this far in your memories. Right, so it wasn't an illusion. I thought about it a lot, because unknown memories and emotions kept surfacing. Corin Locke said, It's a severed connection. Just think of it as a passing dream. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, But you don't really think that, do you? As Corin Locke was shocked, Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, If it were truly a severed connection, there would be no reason to save me, nor any reason to stand in the way of my revenge. But you risked your life and succeeded. It means everything can be restored now. Me and our child. As Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath came closer to Corin Locke, suddenly she stopped and was shocked and confused. Corin Locke turned away, saying, Don't do this. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, Why? It happened today. In that memory, it was this very day. Corin Locke said, It won't come back through such naive methods. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, What's the difference? As Corin Locke hugged Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath, Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath cried and said, Sir, Corin, Corin Locke said, Just forget it all. Let the burden of remembering to me alone. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, I forced such a terrible thing upon you. Corin Locke said, It's not your fault. Miriam Elizabeth L. Rath said, Because of my selfishness, because I couldn't control my revenge. I'm sorry. Corin Locke said, It's okay. Corin Locke said to himself, A December 25th quite different from before passed by like that. The sincere persuasion was successful. As a result, the Dunlefs withdrew the economic sanctions, and the royal family canceled the tax audit and reorganized the army. The Sword Emperor also returned to the east to wait for the promised time. He also gave advice regarding the ultimate essence. Garand Arden said, Just one. Focus your mind on one thing only. Incorporate the state of mind, domain, and logic you aim for. Unite the overall energy, and when you align the state of mind, domain, and logic, you reach the ultimate essence. As the cold wind blew, Corin Locke was confused and said, What on earth does that mean? Darn it, I still don't understand anything, but... Snow? Is it finally starting? Corin Locke said to himself, This year's winter has not ended. The struggle against a long winter that feels as though it will never end. This is where it truly begins. At the northern wall, a guard said, Ugh, it's freezing. When are they coming? His friend said, I don't know, man. They said they're coming for some climate survey or something. It's winter here every single day, so what's the point of a climate survey? Darn it, I bet they're just coming to find something to nitpick. The guard said, By the way, was there any maintenance work done on the south gate recently? His friend said, That temporary wall has been a patch job for 3 years. Who'd bother fixing it now? Just wing it. Hey, did you just speak informally to me? Suddenly a man arrived, and they were shocked and confused. The guard said, You, who are you? Corin Locke said, This place is more of a mess than I imagined. As Corin Locke took off his hood and said, Greetings, I am Special Rank Guardian, Corin Locke. A few moments later, Corin Locke said, An investigation team is being dispatched to survey the abnormal climate beyond the northern wall. Public officials of the city shall cooperate fully with the head of the investigation team, Corin Locke. Vian said, A climate survey, huh? Of course we'll cooperate. First, let's have a drink. Corin Locke said, No, wait, there's something we need to do first. He was first-rank knight and security captain Vian, and he cheered with Corin Locke saying, Never put off until tomorrow the drinks you can have today. That's a northern proverb. Don't go snubbing our hospitality. It might look humble by continental standards, but do you have any idea how hard it is to get food here? Let's just have one more glass, as Corin Locke chugged the beer. And he said, This is strong. Truly worthy of the North. Vian said, right? The alcohol they drink on the continent is just water. Indeed, alcohol should be at least this strong, Corinlock said to himself. Admittedly, even in the previous round, I didn't know much about the North. The massive wall fell as soon as the war broke out, and the people there either died. As Vian and the others chained Corinlock to the chair, Corinlock said in pain, Corinlock said to himself, or defected to Balthazar's side. January passed, then February, and now it is March. The temperature that should be warming up drops further, and the harsh cold freezes the world. The vast agricultural zones of the South miss their planting season, and food prices skyrocket through the roof. The sudden cold plunge has thrown the entire continent into chaos. Taking advantage of the chaos to tear down the northern wall and turning the continent into a living hell overrun by demonic beasts, that is Balthazar's plan. Eternal winter, and this place is the starting point, Vian said. Even if you're special rank, you won't be able to use your strength, because the drink you just had contains a drug that could take down a frost giant in one shot. Corinlock said, what do you want? Why are you doing this? Vian said, because we can't trust you. As Vian took a bottle, and he opened it, saying, Corinlock, you've made quite a name for yourself on the continent, but fame like that just breeds a lot of imposters. And well, honestly, as he poured the bottle at Corinlock, Vian said, it doesn't matter if you're a fake, the real deal or not, this city is already on the verge of death. Since the founding of the nation, barbarian tribes have crossed the wall at every opportunity. And recently, even the Valkyries have been eyeing the walls. Even when we try to fight with our lives on the line, using excuses like Mage Tower subjugations, civil wars, and climate anomalies, the kingdom has cut off both food and resources. Even though there are 10,000 people left in this walled city, Corinlock said, no, Vian said, it's no use. No matter what you say, the savages north of the wall who are after our necks, and the people of the kingdom to the south, abandon us while they enjoy their peace. Everyone outside these walls is an enemy. That is the rule of the North. Corinlock said, Vian, you might feel wronged, but don't assume the North is the only one that's suffering. Vian said, no, it's been suffering enough. As he took the matchbox, and he lit up a match, saying, unlike your continent, northern alcohol catches fire. As Corinlock looked at the falling matchstick towards him, and he burst into flames. Vian turned around and said, don't resent me, Corinlock. Your death is my message to the continent. In this frozen land, we will die by our own hands. Corinlock said, no, as Vian was shocked and confused. Suddenly, Corinlock exploded. Vian said to his friend, hey, are you okay? As he said in pain, ugh. Vian looked at Corinlock with shock. As Corinlock stood without even a burn on his skin, Corinlock said, first, I've confirmed that you're not on Balthazar's side yet. In that case, I won't let you die. Outside, the snow fell. As it became water, as the sun shone upon the village, Vian was shocked and looked above. You were right. It was a lie that I came here for a climate survey. Corinlock said, I came to end the eternal winter, and I came to wage war, as a portal appeared. Josephine, Jaeger, Drawn, Ul, Dokgu, Erin Danua, Warren, Alicia, and Mariette arrived as Corinlock smirked and said, together with you all. Corinlock said to himself, it's already been 3 days. As the men cut trees and said, oh, it's falling, sweet. Corinlock said to himself, the sun rising over the city breathed life into the frozen town. The security guards, who had been struggling with a lack of budget, moved briskly once food and manpower were supplied. A man with a whistle said, move it, process the cut timber immediately, we need to reinforce the wall. Suddenly he looked at the back, as Warren lifted 2 large logs and said, move. As the man said, oh, Warren, aren't you exhausted? You haven't even taken a break. Just come with us. Warren said, this is faster, as she jumped ahead. A few moments later, Rand said, you're working hard, shall we switch? Hua said, I'm fine. Rand said, let's pack a lunch later and bring it to him. He's the one working the hardest after all. Hua said, will he like Malatang? Rand said, he'll enjoy anything as long as you make it. As Hua looked above, a stork flew in the sky. Suddenly Hua jumped, and she said, let's put bird meat in as an ingredient. Suddenly she stopped and said, huh? Corinlock said to himself, Warren only knows exactly 3 types of birds. This bird looks different from a chicken, which has short legs and a comb, and it doesn't have a hooked beak like a raptor. Hua said, this bird is a stork? As she blushed. Corinlock said to himself, it was the baby deliverer she had been searching for all this time. Thanks for tuning in. I truly appreciate each and every one of you who took the time to watch this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider sharing my videos or channel with your friends who might also enjoy it. Your support means the world to me and helps my channel grow. Let's keep this community thriving together. Until next time, see you in the next video.